Hey, and I'm back. Welcome to another episode of Out of the Darkness and Into the Light. You know what I'm going to say. I just love the way that sounds. I just love the way that sounds. I even love the way it feels to be out of the darkness and into the light. We had some pretty interesting topics here lately. So today I decided I wanted to get up this morning and first of all go out and say hi to nature. Hi nature, how you doing? Yeah, nature is so beautiful. It's so wonderful. Try it sometime. Get up in the morning, go outside, take a look at nature. Natural. And say hi to nature, hi to natural. Oh, yes. This is the house of the Lord, river. Okay, I'm not going to mess with you today. What we're going to do today is we're just going to freestyle a little bit. And whatever topic comes to mind, we're just going to interject on it for a minute. And I won't have Gemini with us on this episode. Maybe she'll be inclusive on the next episode. I was thinking about something, though. I was thinking about change and changes and changing. I think a songwriter wrote a song said, everything must change. Nothing stays the same. No thing stays the same. Even a stationary object doesn't stay the same because at some point, unless you're talking about a stove or a refrigerator, you can rearrange your furniture. You can rearrange your decor in your house. And it changes, and it don't stay the same, or the actual object stays the same. But let's address that. The object stays the same, but the position or the location that it was at could change, and that's how it is with us. We're still the same. But we may change our appearance, we may change our location, we may change partners. Now swing your partner do-si-do around the world and here we go. We can change. But just remember, change is good. Change is good. Some changes are bad, but good. And some changes are labeled good, but bad. But everything must change. It's a new day. It's a new aspect to look at, or a new outlook on life to look at. Yesterday's gone. Yesterday is gone. It's just a memory. But yesterday we said, tomorrow I'm going to do X, Y, Z. Today is yesterday's tomorrow. So tomorrow will be today. How does that work? How does that work? It worked because man makes it work, and he identified and came up with this concept of tracking the days. I believe the Ethiopian calendar has 13 months, and they've been that way for thousands of years or since recorded time or what have you. And according to the Ethiopian calendar, they did a 13-month cycle to actually sync with the solar and the lunar cycles, if I'm stating that correctly. And it's 2025 here in the United States, but I believe according to the Ethiopian calendar, it's 2017. So figuratively speaking, they're back in time. And if they were to view us from that perspective, we're the future. We're in the future. Wow, how does that work? Wow. That's the conundrum, dum dum da dum da dum da dee dum dum dum. How does that work? Well, it works based off of their calendar, just plain and simple. And if I remember correctly, I think we used to have the Gregorian calendar, and then we had the Julian calendar. And I think the Gregorian calendar, if I'm not mistaken, is a calendar which tracked the days according to Pope Gregory, I believe. And then the Julian calendar was based off of Julius Caesar. If I'm quoting that wrong or misrepresenting the facts, feel free to give me a comment. First, give me a like. Say, I like what you're doing, but you just passed on some wrong information. And give me a comment. See, everything must change. If I have to change my thinking and change my mind and change my thought and change my understanding about that, I welcome the change. And that's what change is really all about. It's also about seeing life from a different perspective. It's about doing things from a different perspective. And, you know, if we did the same thing every day, man, life would just be so boring if we just did the same thing every day. The same thing every day? You said, yeah, but it depends on what that thing is. It's your thing. Do what you want to do. You can change. One of my favorite songs to sing is Man in the Mirror. And he says he's starting with the man in the mirror. So this is where the first change takes place. You go to bed at night, you wake up in the morning, and even before you take care of your business, you look in the mirror and you go, oh man, I slept wild. I must have had a wild, crazy dream. And then you change. You wash your face, you brush your teeth, you comb your hair. Now you change. You look a little bit different than you did before you, after you woke up, rather. Not before you woke up. Well, before you woke up. But after you woke up, and then you look a little bit better than you did before. And metaphorically speaking, while you were asleep and when you woke up, you were in what's considered a present state of being. And then once you put that makeup on or combed your hair, brushed your teeth, and took off your pajamas and put on your clothes, now you were future dated, and it became the present. You were thinking about it in the present moment. You hadn't made that change yet. Then you go and make that change by doing your morning preparations or what have you. And before you was making those particular morning preparations, you visualize what you were going to present yourself as. So you were in the present projecting the future. And then once you made that change and changed your appearance and did your hygiene rhythm or regiment or whatever it consisted of, you were now living in the future. But then since you're living in the future, it's no longer the future, it becomes the present, and your condition before was the past. And I know it sounds like a play on words, but think about it. Think about it. What would each day be if we didn't have those calendars? What would each day be if we didn't have what we consider time or recorded time? What would each day be? I don't know. Let's ask a bird. He don't fly around with a watch, but he watches. He watched the sunset. He watched the sunrise. He watched the moon. He watches the weather patterns. He pays attention to his environment, but he doesn't have a time that we know of, like we track time with a watch, and he doesn't have a calendar, but he has an internal clock, and he has an internal calendar. Yeah, I know you've heard the expression when you see a flock of birds or a flock of geese or a flock of ducks, and you say, "Oh, it's almost wintertime," and look like the birds are flying south for the winter, flying toward the southern equator, and where there's sunlight and always a good condition or a good weather pattern. And then the locality where they've left from, it's starting to have a change in the weather pattern, and the weather becomes just really too harsh of a condition for those particular birds to actually exist in at that time. So they fly south for the winter, what have you. Some birds don't fly south for the winter. Some birds stay right in their locality, and they endure the weather, they endure whatever they have to endure at that particular time. So do we. And we do it until we make that change. We make that change. And once we make that change, then we're in a supposed different scenario, different environment, different situation, because we've changed from one situation or one scenario into the next. And I'm sure many of you, just like me, have said, I think I'll go to XYZ, the beach or what have you, the park, and then before you make your way to that particular place, you go, you know what, I changed my mind. I think I'll wait until tomorrow. I'll wait until later. See, change is good. Change is good. I remember a story. Well, it's not a story. This is a true story. This is a true story. And it happened to me. And I was headed to work one morning. And normally, the particular freeway that I traveled on, at a certain time, we had what was called commute hour traffic. And in that commute hour traffic, that traffic would be back to back, pretty much at a snail's pace and at a standstill. And I'm on my way to work, and I'm thinking, man, if I sit through this traffic, I'm going to end up being late for work. And so once I clock in late for work, they have, penalizing you for being late or what have you. So there's a particular penalty for being late. And I said, you know what? I'll just try to endure it. And then I'll always have an excuse that, well, it was the traffic. And then this is what made me be late. And it would have been understood, and it would have been probably okay to give that excuse or explanation to my superiors, because they traveled and they commuted to work as well. And I think they did the opposite of me. They left with plenty of time to get to work on time. Anyway, back to the situation, my story. So I'm thinking, yeah, I'll just go ahead and sit through the traffic. So then the Holy Spirit spoke to me and said, get off on the next exit. I'm like, get off on the next exit? No. I'm going to have to go not only get off the freeway, but the next exit. I'm really not too familiar with the area, the vicinity, and I'm going to have to deal with red lights and stop signs, and that's no better than just sitting in. I might as well just sit in the stop and go traffic. But that little quiet voice told me again, he says, okay, get off on this exit before you pass it. Get off now. And I'm like, what the heck. I get off on the exit. And not too familiar with the neighborhood or not too familiar with the community. But as a truck driver, I know that most main streets will lead to another main street. So I got off, and the exit always takes you immediately to like a main street. And I get up on the exit, I get on that particular main street, and I'm trying to make my way to the other main street. The main street that I was on, let's say the direction was going west and east. So I get off the freeway, which I was traveling north and south. I was traveling northward. And so I get off the freeway. Now I'm headed east. And as I'm going east, I'm trying my best to recall if I see a street or a boulevard, I can recognize it and make my way toward my job. And so I'm on my way. I see the main boulevard that I wanted to connect with. And so now I make a left turn on that boulevard. I'm back to traveling north and south. So I know I'm headed in the right direction toward where I work at. And lo and behold, that little quiet voice says, turn here. Turn here? Say, what, you backseat driver? I'm just kidding. So I'm like, make a left here. Okay, I'll make a left. I'll make a left. And then I'm thinking, heck, I'd have made a left. Now I'm going from traveling north and south back to going east to west. I'm headed back to the doggone freeway. Man, what did I listen to the voice for? And as soon as I made that decision to go ahead and do what the particular quiet voice told me to do, it redirected me to go north and south again. And it was a faster route to my job. I didn't have to sit through all those traffic lights and stop signs. And I get to work in plenty of time to have a nice hot cup of coffee. Love to have that coffee in the morning. All you coffee achievers, raise your hands. Throw those hands up. Put those hands up. So I make it to work. And I'm getting my coffee. And one of my coworkers said, oh, man. He said, man, this morning, traffic was a monster. There was 3 accidents on the freeway. And so I decided to get off on whatever boulevard this was. And he said, and then I took it up to the other boulevard to make my way to work. He says, and I got 4 blocks from the job, and there was a detour. And I couldn't go left, which was the direction that he needed to go in order to get to the job. The detour took him to the right, took him 10 more extra minutes out of the way, Then he had to double back to get to the job. Luckily he left to go to work at plenty of time because he lived in I'll name a city. He lived in San Jose and I was working in San Leandro, and they're 30, 40 minutes apart. And I said, "You kidding? There was a detour?" He said, "Yeah, they had road construction going on and they had this detour." I said, "Ain't that something?" I said, I was on the freeway, and then I got off the freeway and I was trying to make my way up to Foothill Boulevard. I remember now. I was trying to make my way up to Foothill Boulevard to come on down to the job. I said, and then the Holy Spirit spoke to me and told me to take a left. He told me to take a right. It took me off my course. And I thought about it. I said, wow. I avoided the detour. I was trying to not sit in that traffic and be late for work, and then thinking I could take a shortcut, but I wasn't thinking of taking that particular exit. But listening and yielding to that voice had me to get off on that exit. And then as I got off on that exit, I drove maybe about 6 or 7 blocks down on that main Foothill Boulevard, and then it told me to make a left. It didn't make a right, and I ended up at the job, and I said, wow, what if I refuse to change? What if I refuse to hear that quiet voice? What if I just didn't listen to it and continued to sit in the traffic? And my coworker told me, he says, man, not only was traffic bad this morning, but there was about at least 3 or 4 accidents on the freeway. And if traffic is already backed up and then they have an accident on the freeway, and then the emergency vehicles and the tow trucks need to come and clear the lane, so the traffic starts to bottleneck, and that's even worse. Because rude people don't let you get over. They get in front of you. They get behind you blowing a horn. You drivers know what I'm talking about. But my point is, I didn't resist the change. See, change is good. If I didn't listen to the change and change my mind and continue to go on the freeway, that change would have been bad for me. I probably would have been late to work, and with this assumption that I could use the bad traffic as my excuse for being late. And in this particular type of job, you come to work late too many times, and you get a point, and you get a write-up, and all this other control functions that they have. But I listened to that voice, and I made the change. See? Things are changing. There's changes like the birds who have the homing sensors in them, and they're in tune to the various energies and frequencies that's in the universe, and they're changing. This energy now, I can see that the energy is changing as well. It's not changing and becoming too aggressive, but it's aggressive at times. And then also it's changing, and it is changing for the better, because the so-called modern technology is forever developing and making our lives a little bit easier, if you want to say that. Making our life a little bit more comfortable, if you want to say that. I remember when I was a kid, I had to be, I think I was in the 6th grade, and my dad said, "You know what, son?" He says, "When you've grown," he says, we were in line in the grocery store. He says, and see how they're punching in that on the cash register, and it was one of the cash register. When you punch something up, the amount pops up in that little window. I'm telling my age. And then you'd get to the end of the counter, and there'd be a guy there bagging your groceries in paper bags. I bet you guys ain't never seen a paper bag in a grocery store. But the guy would be bagging the groceries. So my dad said, he says, when you're grown, when you grow up, he says, you're going to go to the grocery store and they're going to just take your grocery item and scan it across the conveyor belt, and it'll register, and that's how they'll tally, and that's how you'll pay for your groceries. Now, I'm at sixth grade. I think this is like 1974, 75, in that neighborhood, 76 maybe. You guys do the math. You're the mathematician. I'm the teacher. You do the math. But he told me that, and as a kid, I was like, ooh, wow. I'm thinking, the Jetsons, flying cars, and robots. We got the robots now. And then one day, when I think back in the 80s, I'm going to the it wasn't a Costco. They had another name for this particular type of store, but it had that Costco, Sam's Club kind of environment where you could make purchases of various items in bulk, and someone was telling me, "Hey man, you ought to check out this new wholesale grocery store. They're very reasonable. They have real decent prices." He said, "You should check it out." So, me being a father and a family man, I said, well, yeah, I would love to save a little money on groceries. And so I go to the grocery store and pick out the items that I wanted. And when I got up to the counter, and you know how you put your stuff on the conveyor, and I was putting the items on the conveyor, but the cashier was taking each item and scanning it across the surface of the conveyor belt, and I went, oh my goodness. My dad told me that one day I'd go to the grocery store and they wouldn't be just taking the cash register and typing in the amount and the item, but they would scan the groceries. And I've seen it take place firsthand. Change is good. And I was a kid thinking, man, we're going to be living like the Jetsons. We got the flying cars. They ain't allowed us to have them yet because we can't even drive down the damn freeway in the streets without hitting each other. So you can imagine us flying. The sky would be one big gaggle fuck. I didn't mean to say that and slipped out. But you heard worse than that, so let's keep going. But now we got the robots. And we have AI, artificial intelligence. I can remember a time when you would first of all, I can remember a time when you wanted to use your telephone, your landline telephone. It was a rotary dial. You turned the little deal. And then if you went to the phone booth, you don't see phone booths anymore. But you went to the phone booth, and it gave you an option to put in a nickel, dime, or a quarter, and you could just pick up the receiver, press 0 for the operator, and the operator, an actual person, would come on the line and say, "This is the operator, how may I help you?" He said, "I want to make a call to so-and-so, and how much does that cost?" And of course they knew you were at a payphone, because the payphone was connected to the operating system. You understand what I'm saying? And they would say, oh, that call will cost 5 cents for 3 minutes, 10 cents or 25 cents or what have you. Long distance calls was always 25 cents or more. things like that. And then if you didn't have the funds, there was many a times I didn't have the money, but I could make a collect call, and the collect call would cost you more than the charge on your regular home phone. And I'll never forget, I was just making collect calls because I didn't have the money. I was like, shit, I got to have my money. I can make a collect call. Get the my mom and my dad got the phone bill. They said, "Who making all these damn collect calls?" We don't have to make them anymore. We can just call straight up, straight out. I'm really telling my age now. And they didn't have voicemails and answering machine. Well, they did have an answering machine, but you was calling into a switchboard, and they had your phone number, and you paid for the service. And if you wasn't at home, instead of just the phone just constantly ringing, or if you were on the other line and get that busy signal, the answering service would answer the phone for you and take the message, and then you would come in and call your particular answering service, and they would make you aware of the calls that you had. Isn't life beautiful? I even remember when we had telephone books, because I used to be a paper boy, and I used to also distribute the telephone books. So the residential telephone book wasn't that thick. It was, I don't know, maybe 200-300 pages thick. But them yellow pages, man, them yellow pages was associated with business listings and things like that, and them suckers was heavy. But you got paid. They broke it down into different regions of the city, and you got paid to place them at people's front door who had a telephone service, basically. And the yellow pages basically had advertisement and the phone number of the businesses, just like now when you go on the cell phone and you go to Yelp or whatever these other platforms are. And you could see their icon for their business or their logo or whatever they use to represent their business. You would see that in the yellow pages. And also the yellow pages came in handy for booster seat. So my friends, they couldn't afford a high chair or didn't want to buy one, but them two foam yellow pages made a good booster seat. Changes. It changes. Things are changing. Life is changing. Life is about changing, and so be prepared to make some changes. Don't resist the change. If you can resist the change, if the change is the opposite of decent humanity and decent behavior toward humanity, no, don't make that change. But if you can make a change in your change, you can help somebody. Yeah. That just reminded me of one of the lyrics to which one of my songs was that? Roll hard and praise. And the catchphrase in that song was, it's a shame. It's my song, my lyrics, and I'm stuck. It was, no, it was, Jesus, he forgive you for all your sins, turn around and make you his best friend, then stick to you closer than your mother. I mean, stick closer to you than a brother, maybe even your mother. Now that's tight. And the bridge was, there's people out there that's lost and they're dying at all costs just to have a life that's free from worry and pain without nothing to gain. No, my friend, not true. There's a lot that we can do. Empower that person, help them to develop their mind. Then you're right on time. You build them up in their most holy faith so they can see their rightful place. Take a man or a woman with potentials and give them some knowledge. They can end up in college. Master degrees, doctor degrees, PhDs, or maybe all of these, and help somebody make it in this life. Now I know that's right. And that's represent of change. It's representative of change. See, we don't realize how much we influence other people and children or what have you. You know, now we got the social media, and we want to be social media influencers, and we want to get so many likes, and we want to get so many subscribers as an indication that what we're presenting through our media, it's beneficial and helpful, and it influences people to want to, hear what we have to say. But once again, change is good. Change is good. And sometimes change can be bad. But then sometimes that change that's bad can turn around and be good. How does that happen? No, I don't. Tell me how that happened. Who cares how it happens, just as long as it happens. So just remember when you're going about your day, today, tomorrow, or in the future, woo, I don't resist change. Listen to that small, quiet voice up a yonder. I'm going up a yonder. Oh, it makes me wonder sometimes I'll keep from going under. They're going to sue me for saying I didn't have permission to say that. Just remember. Just remember, change is good. Change is good. Life is good. Better yet, life is beautiful. You want to talk about a beauty contest? Guess who wins the crown? Life. Life wins the beauty contest. Life wins the beauty contest. Every time. There is no runner-ups. There's no runner-ups. Here she is. Life as it stands.